that he has been one of the most influential voices and just personalities to the Omaha restaurant and food scene over the past couple decades. That is the Dean of Culinary and Horticulture at Metro Community College, Brian O'Malley. Hey there, Omaha. Welcome into another episode of Restaurant Hoppen. I'm your host, Dan Hoppen, and my guest today is a little bit different in that he doesn't spend nearly as much time in kitchens as most of my guests, at least not in traditional restaurant kitchens. But one could argue, and I've had many people make this argument to me, that he has been one of the most influential voices and just personalities to the Omaha restaurant and food scene over the past couple decades. That is the Dean of Culinary and Horticulture at Metro Community College, Brian O'Malley. Brian, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Dan. It's a real pleasure to be here.
Our paths have crossed so many times over the years, and
Absolutely.
I've heard your name so many times. And you even had, we're going to talk about this later, but you even had a podcast in this podcast studio.
Yeah.
And this show has been such a long time coming, so I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm really excited to be here with you.
And I got to start with the age-old golden question. This is a question that you've answered 1,000 times, but it's a conversation that I've had on this podcast so many times, and people have usually pretty strong opinions on it.
Okay.
To go to culinary school, to get on-the-job training. There are some people who say, when I went to culinary school, the lessons, the baseline that I learned there was invaluable to getting me started in restaurants and giving me an understanding of what it meant to work. And then the other side of the coin says, hey, I just grew up working in restaurants. I bounced around. I learned on the job, and instead of paying someone to teach me, I just learned. Obviously, as a culinary instructor and a huge part of Metro, you would advise people to go to culinary school. What do you think culinary school provides people that just that on-the-job training might miss?
That's a great question, and I'm glad you drilled it down, because if the question stood as the one or the other, the answer is both. I mean, that there is no person that comes through culinary school that isn't encouraged by us to stay in the field, right? That the pace of learning, because of the amount of repetitions you get when you are at practice, right? You are in the field doing the work, exceeds anything you could possibly get at school. The difference is you don't know how to learn it. And so I had a conversation last night with a student that is a high school student. He goes to Papillion La Vista South. They're getting ready to go to the national Pro Start competition. And the dish he's making is got seared scallops on it. And I asked him how many times he's made it from when he started training for this until I saw him last night. And he said about 20. And 20 is great, but if you work at Spencer's, you're going to pick up 20 seared scallops probably in the first 2 hours of a Friday night. And so if you are paying attention, at the end of 3 weeks of picking up scallops, working the saute station at Spencer's, your scallop searing ability is going to be spectacular, right? And so that's actually what I encourage this guy to do is, hey, let's call Chef Wheeler and see if they got scallops on the menu right now and see if you can go shadow and just worry about sear the scallops over and over and over and over and over again. And that's how you're going to get good at searing scallops. And so school, albeit Metro, I think does a pretty good job of replacing much of that kind of repetition because we have a restaurant at the heart of our academic model. But school is never going to be able to provide you that kind of reps. And we shouldn't try, right? Our job is to help you see how reflective practice accelerates that learning. And we do that by showing you how to approach lesson over and over and over and over and over again. Those lessons might be different, but that bit of learning how to learn in the kitchen and learning how to learn on the restaurant floor and learning how to learn in the environment that is the restaurant and food service industry, that's what we're teaching. And so the speed at which you'll get better at the scallops pivots on two critical things: that you get to do it over and over and over again, and that the lesson from each one is not wasted on the next. And very few people in the world, not in education, very few people in the world know how to help you do that part. Glenn Wheeler is great at showing you how to sear scallops over and over and over and over again. He's not good at helping it stick in your brain. You got to learn how to do that on your own. And that's our job as teachers, is to help shape your reflective practice so that every lesson gets you better to approach the next. So I don't want you to pick one. I want you to do both, because I can't afford the number of scallops it's going to take for you to be good at it. But Glenn can't afford for you to take too long to learn how to be good at the sixth one, right? That he's down that on scallop 1 and scallop 2, you're watching him. And then on scallop 3 and 4, he's watching you. But at scallop 5, you got to be ready to go. And if you haven't learned how to grow through those first scallops, you're not going to be ready. I'm nodding like people are watching us. Maybe they will.
We're on video. People are watching us.
Fair enough. I forget that it's on video. But that piece is critical. And I don't see any value in avoiding either of them. No one thinks that they've achieved chefdom by having graduated culinary school. No way, right? You're the chef when you're in charge of the kitchen. So you got to go to work, or it's not happening. And so that growth has to happen. School can accelerate it, make it more meaningful, enrich it, get you connected better, shape your network more fully, all those kinds of things.
I loved how you framed that as learning how to learn, because that is such a crucial component to becoming good at anything. Like you mentioned, you can send somebody down to, if somebody starts on the line, we're talking about Spencer's for Steaks and Chops. Right. Let's keep talking about it.
Yeah.
So let's say they start them on the garde manger station. You do well for a couple weeks. Okay, let's move you up. You're gonna do the scallop dish. Mm-hmm. Somebody can watch Glenn prepare that scallop dish a couple times, and then they can repeat it, much like almost AI would, essentially.
Sure.
But to actually understand the why of each component of that dish, of why are we only searing one side of the scallop? How long? What type of pan are we using? How does that influence the sear that we get? Why are we pairing this sauce with the scallop in this preparation as opposed to another? You can create the dish by repeating what you've seen without all that knowledge, but if you have that knowledge, or you can learn how to ask the right questions to attain that, that's what actually starts to make you a better cook. It makes you a better chef. You move beyond kind of another piece in the machine to somebody who's really learning and starting to level up.
I would argue too that you don't see the need for nor the value of asking those questions, until you are so good at making the product that you're running up against the limits of your own craftspersonship. And then it only gets unlocked for you to go past that through intellectual pursuit, right? That you, at some point, your mashed potatoes are as good as they're going to be without wonder, without saying, why can't they hold warm for an hour while I get the rest of dinner ready? And then you start to dig, and you start to test, and you start to experiment, and you start to question, and you start like that. But on the first time you make them, you're just happy that there's no lumps. Maybe you're just happy that they're hot and you can eat them. In order to get to the point where the question even presents itself, let alone the answer is meaningful, takes a long time. And quite frankly, we see it in the best students are usually people that have shown up already having made hundreds of batches of mashed potatoes. That the people that come to culinary school that haven't yet picked up a peeler aren't getting what they could out of school because they're trying to learn it as a craftsperson. And really, that kind of wonder and pursuit of the depth of starch birefringence, if we're going to keep talking about mashed potatoes, it's not important to your first 50 batches of mashed potatoes. It doesn't change how good they can be at all. And it doesn't change how much you're going to care about how good they are. Like, it only matters to you once you're deep enough in that kind of stuff will keep you going. Like, will make the mashed potatoes better, will impact the quality of the service experience for the people you're giving them to, or all these other things. And so culinary school is a unique undertaking that everybody has been participating in food and cookery their whole life, no matter what, right? That you're eating in some capacity, no matter what, like you have to be in order to be alive at 18 or 19, whenever you want to move on past high school endeavors. And so culinary schools have got people that have varying levels of the expertise, no matter what. That's not true of engineering or many, many other pursuits that you may not have been as intimately engaged with throughout the rest of your life before you get to school. So it's very cool because of that, but most people don't even realize that's who they are as a student yet, that they don't know they're approaching it with that kind of awe and wonder yet. They're just kind of searching, and that's awesome. That's awesome too.
I mean, searching is perfect for college students. That's what we all do when we first get to college, for the most part, at least. So we've talked about the value of culinary school on the whole. Now, Metro is pretty widely acknowledged as a very strong culinary school, if not among some of America's best. What do you think specifically is it? What do you think it specifically is about your program that makes it stand out and really helps your students level up?
That's a great question. I mean, the short answer, I think, is our connectivity to the Omaha restaurant community. The restaurant food service community in Omaha is spectacular. I mean, I'm telling you this, you know this as well as anybody around. But that piece of intersection between what's happening at work and what happens at school and how do those things happen together is pretty rare. On top of that is also the restaurant operations and the banquet operations that are integrated into our program. So many places that I go visit, right? I have friends that have my job at other places around the country, and they work honorably to stiff arm operations, right? To say, no, the academic undertaking of going to culinary school should not be serving lunch to people, should not be, right? That's what students do when they go to work. We'll let them do that when they go to work. But when they're here, let's keep the room closed a little bit and not put the guest and the guest experience at the center of the learning model. And that's what we have done. I mean, it's been that way at Metro for a long time. I say we just because I'm a part of it, but it wasn't my decision to do it that way. But having the guest at the center of the learning model is the most important part of the lesson. And it's a lesson that sometimes cooks in the back of the house, if they don't spend any time in the front of the house early in their career, they don't see the guest as more important than the craft. And we try very hard to make sure we don't lose sight of the idea that the guest drives the whole thing. That doesn't mean I don't think the craft is ridiculously important. I want delicious hollandaise to make it onto the table as much as anybody, but not if nobody orders it. Not if nobody's there to pay for it. Not if there's not like an engine that's driving it. You got to have those two things working in harmony. And to the question about what makes us special, it's that we not just embrace that, like we want it. Like that is the heart of the teachers at Metro, is that kind of thinking, that we got to be doing it. And so for 6 of the 8 quarters that you're a culinary student, some people take more than 8, but for 6 of the 8 programmed quarters, you're engaged in restaurant operations in some capacity in order not just to get that real world training. The real world training is nice, but it's really so we don't lose sight of the guest at the center of the model, that somebody's coming in, that there's hours on the door to get ready for, but then somebody else's feedback that you're not paying and that isn't getting paid to do it, to teach you, is saying, this is how good the hollandaise sauce was. And if that's not happening, all the lessons are untethered to reality. And that sucks. And that makes for a bad setup for a student because they think that their chef's decision about how good the hollandaise is the penultimate moment, right? And then that comes with a grade. And then that says, this is how good I am. And I don't know if you've talked to a lot of educators, but they usually don't say things like I'm about to say. But grades are the worst setup in American education. Like it's a rigged pile of dookie that we should try our best to get rid of. And in culinary school, they're even worse because no guest is ever going to pay you for the A you got in sauce class. Mm-hmm. They pay you for the hollandaise as delivered. And that piece, we mess up when we give you points and turn it into a grade instead of landing it in front of somebody. And when they say, ugh, it's too thick, you don't get to say, well, over here on the rubric.
As you can see, I actually scored a 94 on my hollandaise. Right. So you're wrong, Mr. Customer.
Right. Never, ever, ever happens. Now, I mean, we're at school, and so grades are there, and they're a part of the system. But
sure,
we also work very hard to break that mindset because we all get programmed with it. I mean, it's kind of part of the system, but that system is rigged the wrong way, right? That we use a fictional wedding cake to make this example, right? That no bride wants you to have made her wedding cake, and on average, it would be a B if you used the last 3 A's and her D. Like, nope. Like, everybody needs you over the line. And that's not how grades and averages and stuff like that work. And so our mindset related to that is important. And I'm not saying we do that seamlessly or flawlessly. It's a struggle because
they're students. You wouldn't expect it to be seamless.
And we're
teachers. It's usually not seamless or faultless at a Michelin-starred restaurant.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Like, restaurants are just messy places. Yep. It's never, I shouldn't say never, but it's very rarely going to be perfect.
Yeah.
It's a learning experience for everyone on the job, including those who are still in school and who are teaching them. Now, we've been talking for about 15 minutes. We've made several references to the restaurant on Metro's campus, but we haven't actually named it or talked about it. Sage Student Bistro.
I thought you were going to leave it a secret, and then nobody would know, and it would be like some, scavenger hunt and peck thing.
I'm not a secret keeper, Brian. I'm no gatekeeper. I'm the opposite. I throw things out there, and I'm like, everybody go swamp this place.
If you look at the level of business at Sage, we've been pretty good at keeping it a secret over the years, which is also half on purpose. Like, that half on purpose is about we can't swamp it, right? Because you do lose the lesson sometimes when the canoe goes over. That's fair, although sometimes the lesson needs to be about the canoe going over. So as long as the restaurant instructors don't hear me say it, like, hey, everybody, go swamp it once in a while. We need that lesson too. But we don't want to swamp it. But we also, that relationship we have with the restaurant industry stands on us not taking their biz. Like, the last thing we want to do is open a shop on the, corner of 11th and Howard and, be fighting spaghetti works for guests. Like, we need the restaurant industry to still be the restaurant industry. We don't need, we just want to carve a little piece of it so we can train in it. We don't need to turn Sage into a competitor, a player.
No. And I'm not saying that, but I just want people to understand what we're talking about here. So,
and we need you to come. Like, that piece of it.
Exactly.
If the guest is at the center of it, hopefully the people listening to us right now see that their role in the education of the next gen of American chefs hinges on them coming to eat at places like Sage and other restaurants that are interested in training in order for their chefs to grow and get better and stuff like that. So please, we need you.
So what is the model at Sage? How does it work?
That's a great question.
If somebody's hearing about this for the first time, they're like, wait, this culinary school has a restaurant? What is that? How does it work?
I would say it works a lot like a haircut school and a lot like a med school, where we are working hard at the beginning to make sure the student is ready to perform the task live and on a customer. But then that we also stand right next to them during the first incision and to make sure that, they're not cutting on the wrong side or doing something the opposite way. So it's also less expensive than other places in the haircut barber college model, that you've got this chance to come and eat. I mean, dinner at Sage is an incredible experience. Right now it's 9 courses, and I think it's $65.
Wow.
Right. So we're doing our best to make sure that, we're performing at the level at which our graduates should be performing when they're 5 and 10 years out. But we recognize that we need customers to come try and see if that's true. And so the price is less expensive than that same menu would be once they are 5 or 10 years out, I hope, for those students' sake, that they can, charge more for it.
But the quality, I mean, from my experiences, is still incredibly high. Mm-hmm. And what I really love about Sage is I go in and I look at that menu, whether it's a set tasting menu or a pre-fee, and I'm looking through all the options. And, I feel like the lowest hanging fruit for you guys would have been to open, if Sage were a steakhouse or a new American restaurant.
Sure.
And you're serving the classics. You're serving burgers and steaks and chicken sandwiches and the things that people would expect.
And that, quite frankly, students need to be very good at as they start their career.
Correct.
That's absolutely true.
Without a doubt. And I have no doubt that you teach that. And you have a burger on the menu. It's there. But there's also, there's dishes from all over the world. Mm-hmm. The last time I ate at Sage, I had my phone out and I was having to Google things because I was like, I don't know what this term means. Oh, that's what that is. I want to try that. What kind of gave you that inspiration to say, let's not just make this a simple, really familiar restaurant, but let's kind of allow it to be a learning experience for these students, and they get an opportunity to not only learn about different cultures and dishes, but put those into practice in the restaurant.
It's excellent that you see it as such. It is the intent that it is exploring global cuisine, certainly during the day. We have a unique opportunity as a teaching restaurant that somebody's willing to show up more uncomfortable than they might be in another restaurant, right? That they're willing to say, I don't really know what this thing is on the menu, but if you're learning it, I can learn it. And that's a cool relationship to have with a guest. We also have a very unique difference between what happens during the day and what happens at night at Sage, right? That it's rare that a restaurant would swing as wildly as we do between style of service, type of cuisine, and all that, right? During the day, they're wearing khakis and a T-shirt as a server, and at night, they're in button-down silk vests with ties, and it's a whole different style of service, right? Lights are down, linen's on, candles are lit at night, and it's as elegant as any other operation you could go to in the city. And so that variation also I would never do if I just owned a restaurant in town. People wouldn't understand who you are. Mm-hmm. And by understanding that we're a place where where students are there to see this broad swath of food experiences, well, then you too show up as a customer expecting that broad swath of culinary experiences. Our tagline is learning from scratch. And so it's about starting with, we don't know what we're going to do here, so let's go. And frequently that relies on leaning on masters, right? That we go and find the best examples of international or American regional cuisine and then try to recreate that in the restaurant environment we have, and then students get to learn how it happens and guests get to experience it as well. So, but the specific inspiration was a little more dorky and academic, that we had an American regional cuisine course that was going to get squeezed out of the curriculum based on some changes that needed to be made, unrelated to the content or value or commitment to that kind of content. And so we found a way to smash it together with our, at the time it was called casual dining course. And those two came together to form what is now Restaurant Cookery 1. And the same thing was happening to our world cuisine and fine dining course, that we couldn't find a way for them to both exist. So then they got smashed together as well. And so Some of it was about necessity to say, how do we get these two to fit together? Because the restaurant you mentioned, the more approachable place with pasta dishes and big salads and a few burgers and sandwiches, is how Sage's lunch operation ran for many years successfully, and students grew from it. But this new exploration where they're getting to learn shakshuka and other unique things that they may not get exposed to for many, many, many years helps shape them differently as well.
Mm-hmm. I want to go back to what you said about you talking to some of your educator friends, because a lot of culinary schools they're in the classrooms, they're providing the baselines, they're providing the learning, they're helping, like you said, helping students learn to learn. So that's typically pretty slow. Then you go into a restaurant, depending where you work, that can be really fast and really hard, and you can be in the weeds, and I mean, you can be getting swamped on a Friday or Saturday night. That's a huge gap. Those are two very, very different things, and it would be very easy for someone to go from here to here and get burned out super fast because they're like, that's not what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Sage kind of falls somewhere in the middle where you might get in the weeds sometimes, but you're not probably going to be just getting torched. And even if you are, you've got your classmates who you know, and you've got your instructors who can help bring the fire down a little bit next to you. Is that kind of the purpose of Sage, is helping students bridge that gap between the fires of an active restaurant and kind of the coziness of the classroom?
Absolutely. And no, it's a great perspective. I mean, even inside the program, right, where we have 8 quarters, we see that not necessarily as a bridge. The model we kind of like to think of it as is a stair step, right? That, you were talking about them being out here. We'd like to say they're like this. And so that in your first quarter, sure, you're in the classroom, cozy, but learning some fundamentals, and then the same. And at the end of those first 2 steps, you're a lot closer. You can see a little better what it's going to be like when you get into the real fire of it. But the very next quarter, quarter 3, you're in Sage on the line for a la carte service during the day. And so now you're kind of all the way there, but without maybe the operational tempo, the full level of volume, and the unforgiving nature of you're one amongst many veterans. Like, one of the other core pieces of awesome about learning in the Sage kitchen as opposed to a restaurant kitchen is that everybody in the Sage kitchen is advancing their knowledge together. In the restaurant kitchen, when you show up, it's frequent that you are the new guy and there's 10 other people that are all annoyed that you're the new guy. And so you not knowing what to do is a pain for them. Or maybe one guy's trying to show you how to do it, but you know you're the weak link and you know that you're trying to grow that way. And that's fine. I mean, everybody, whenever we start a new thing, we got to manage our own growth into it. But that piece of everybody being in the same canoe means that when it gets swamped, they all blame themselves and each other in equal measure. And in that, they pick it up, they drain it out, they turn it back over, they help each other back in, and then they go on to tomorrow's service. In the restaurant community, that doesn't always happen that way so easily because people are at very different levels of skill set. I mean, there are different levels of skill set as students too, but not what happens. I mean, if you go to work at a very nice restaurant, there's people there that may have Michelin star experience from around the world. And now you show up and you're like, which end of my knife do I hold? It's immediately creates this otherness to your feeling of belonging. And nobody goes back when they feel like they don't belong. Mm-hmm. Or the only people that go back when they feel like they don't belong got something to prove. And when those people go back, it starts to foment a culture that is not healthy for people as they move forward. A culture that the restaurant industry has been known for many, many, many decades, where this bravado kind of shrouded as meritocracy because it was only those that can stand abuse that stay long enough to then be in charge of giving the abuse, or the same people that say anybody that comes up wholesomely by learning slowly and discovering the right path obviously doesn't have the chops to make it in the world, wants their world to continue to be full of abuse. And that's terrible. And so that piece of like, let's not squeeze out the new guy because they don't yet know, is what's awesome about a kitchen full of people that have all raised their hand to say, let's tip this canoe over together, right? And I'm not saying there aren't restaurants where that can happen or that you can tip it over and it's your fault and people don't get mad at you. But it's not the way the restaurant culture was formed. The way restaurant culture was formed is in that first week when you tip over the canoe, you are at fault. And the only person that gets up from the mat from that is willing to battle. And then we say, ooh, look how tough they are. Instead of, oh, look how fastly we discarded somebody who failed once. People failing is the key to getting better. And restaurants that don't do that as effectively as they should break my heart, because it's the way that every person who gets good got there, is to fall down over and over and over again. If they could have done it with slightly more support about getting back up, man, the restaurant scene would not enjoy the reputation that it does.
I am going to make a sports comparison here.
Please.
We're
in the building, right? I mean, we should.
We've seen several times over the last couple of years, like these reclamation projects at quarterback in the NFL, guys who have failed in their original location, maybe their first two teams that they played for, and then they get in the right spot, and all of a sudden they thrive. And I think Sam Darnold, he just won the Super Bowl with the Seattle Seahawks, is a perfect example of that. He gets drafted to the Jets. He's not properly trained. He's not ready for that. He gets thrown into the fire right away, and he gets blamed because he plays poorly. He was not ready.
Yep.
He was not ready for that. He goes to San Francisco. He sits on the bench under a great coach. He goes to Minnesota, has a great coach, has a very good year. By the time he got to Seattle, he had the nurturing, he had the guys around him where he was ready to ascend into that role. So few people are, that superstar Andrew Luck that you just throw into the lineup from day one and they're like, yeah, I got this.
Yep.
To be able to kind of, I love the model that you use, like the stepping stones.
Sure.
I think that's just brilliant.
Well, because each one of them gets you closer to seeing clearly where you're going, right? Which I would imagine Sam Darnold did. Mendoza, I'm going to forget his first name, from Indiana, tells this story the similar way, right? That he was still the same physical, has all the same physical ability he did at the other places he's been. I mean, he's a young man, so I'm sure he's been actually physically getting better too, but like, it's not like he's a different, can't run faster, throw better, see more because of going to Indiana from wherever he was. The same is true of Sam Darnold, right? He's not he doesn't run a 40 faster now that he's in Seattle than he used to.
I would say he's probably slower and his arm's probably a little bit worse than it was when he first came out of college.
Perhaps, right? But now the rest of it, right? That it's not really about ability. It's as much about belonging and belief as it is about anything else. And if you don't see that you can be a part of it, then you get squeezed out of it or you clock out of it. Like, that's true too. And our job as leaders, not as the best cook in the kitchen, but as leaders of kitchens, is to make sure that that act of belonging happens on purpose. And Sage not only provides that, but demonstrates that that's the expectation for the way a kitchen should get run as you move out into the world. And that, I think, is changing writ large. I don't think Metro is changing that, but I think that the kitchen world, the football world, whatever, sees that ability gets squashed by those moments of disregard is maybe the word I will use here, right? That you don't, why would you draft Sam Darnold and then not do everything possible to make him feel a part of the team and the team to be committed to him? But instead, you kind of let him not find his way aboard, and so he drifted away and wasn't as good as he should have been, and so out of there. It's a heartbreak. I mean, I'm sure it's a heartbreak for Jets fans.
Yeah.
My family has many Minnesota fans in it, and they're heartbroken by it too, right? I mean, Minnesota saw Sam Darnold, I think, did too. The world did too. Saw who Sam Darnold really was when he was in Minnesota. So,
right.
But he also won the Super Bowl, and Minnesota can't say that. Sorry, Sean.
Yet.
Yeah,
Yet. Vikings, your time will come, I hope.
My brother's very happy you just said that.
I want to get back to football is great. I don't want to lose my audience here.
I'm the wrong person. I mean, I like football, but,
You're doing a perfect analogy. I'm going to reel it back in because you talked about leadership there. And I know that leadership in the kitchen is something that is vitally important to you. And I found this quote that you gave that I thought was really powerful. You said, and this was from a couple of years ago, so you can tell me whether you still believe this or whether you still find it true. There is this emotional terrorism in the kitchen. People running kitchens who were really hazed and abused when they were on their way up. They continue to operate under this assumption that you really need to ride your team hard. It sickens me a little bit that when we're praising people for their craftsmanship, we forget that chef means chief. We should be judging them as much on how they lead their crew as how their plates are presented. What do you think about that quote as I read it back to you now?
I think that person was very smart. I would like to meet them. No, I stand for it now, perhaps more than I did when I wrote it. It is your job to be the person that helps shape the culture of your operation. And sometimes that's about absolutely tyrannical adherence to the level of quality of craftsmanship. I don't disagree. But that's a quarter of the game, is the craft. The other 3/4 are the people. And to lead a group of people by thinking that what matters most is how well they've strained a sauce or how is not okay. That doesn't mean I think you should turn out lumpy sauces or whatever. But it's not the whole story. It's not even close to the whole story. And to think that culinary school is just cooking school is also to make that same mistake. That what you're doing at school when you learn how to learn is really about that ability to lead. In some cases, yourself, that you're about embracing the growth mindset and a self-reflective process that helps you grow in your craft, but it also helps you grow as a teammate. And it also helps you grow as an employee. And it also helps you grow as a potential owner or business partner or guest or friend, or those pieces of seeing that this is not a thing you do alone should immediately break how important it is we think that one person can make one good thing. That one good thing does not make you a pro. Helping other people be their best, and therefore the food is the best it can possibly be, that's what great kitchen leadership should look like. And I wax on about it like I was ever really good at it, but I was not. I see that much of my perspective of why it's so important is that I didn't come up in it. I don't think I did necessarily a great job providing it in the days that I was a pure operator. And I see that the quarter of which that everybody else holds with such high esteem, the quality of the plate that gets delivered, that suffered for it. That tyranny, what did I call it? Emotional something or other?
Emotional terrorism.
Terrorism. I mean, that word might be more charged than it needs to be in this sense. But that bit of I thought that's the way people got as good as they were. And really now I see that's exactly how those people held themselves back from being as good as they could have been. And I'm in that group of those people. That I'm not nearly as good a craftsperson as I could have been or could still be if I wouldn't have been held back by all of that baggage. And I'm sad that it took me till pretty late in life to realize all of that, because I'm not a bad cook, but I could be way better than I am had all of that stuff not messed it up, clouded it up, turned me into somebody that was focused on all the wrong stuff.
Do you watch the show The Bear?
I've seen a little of it.
I can't remember if it's the end of season 3 or season 4, but basically the main character, Carmi in the show, he has flashbacks throughout the show of his like main mentor chef, and his mentor chef is performing emotional terrorism on him. I mean, he is screaming at him. He's knocking his plates off the counter or off the pass if they're not
and then
perfect.
Later in the series says, "You're welcome."
Yes.
Oh,
yeah, because Carmi goes up to him and like basically accosts him.
Is that a real scene, or is he imagining that scene?
No, it's real.
It's real.
And after all these years, he says, "You have caused me so much emotional damage. I have been to therapy because of you. I lay awake at night because of you." And the guy says, his training chef says, "You're welcome. I made you great. You are here at this special dinner right now because I made you who you are." And it's just like, I don't know, maybe to some extent, but that also seems so backward. Like, we don't need to break someone down necessarily to build them back up. Now, that doesn't mean you can just hold somebody's hand the whole time if they're screwing up or if they're not putting the correct level of effort into it. But we don't need to beat someone into submission to reform them like they're a ball of clay into what needs to be formed.
You're right. No, 100% right. And
so you've heard about this scene that I'm telling you about.
I think I've seen. I mean, I watch in fits and spurts, just kind of the nature of my TV viewing. I mean, that's not fair. I watch Downton Abbey cover to cover, which has some of the same without as dramatic of moments, I guess. But no, I see it. I hope that Carmi didn't really have to experience that in order to grow as much as he had. But there's the trouble, is that it works on the quality of the thing that gets delivered to a point. There is an enormous amount of growth that comes learning how to take fielders. We're going to make a sports reference again, sorry.
Let's do it.
Right? By just having your dad or coach or somebody just hit ground balls at you all day. But that comes with tons of bruises and probably some anger that, yep, you got better at fielding ground balls. But now you've got an entirely messed up system of values about what it means to be a good shortstop, right? That you're doing it in order to make the guy that's abusing you feel like, oh yeah, you're doing a good job at shortstop. And no matter what, no matter how good you get at fielding ground balls, you will only rise to the level of excellence that's about that acceptance. That's it. That's Ted Lasso, that's not me, which really means to say that's Brene Brown, not me. But like Jamie Tart in Ted Lasso is exactly that way, right? That when he's still worried about what his dad thinks about what's happening in the game, it is self-limiting on his performance. He's already a World Cup level player for England. Right. Do you not watch Ted Lasso?
Oh, no, I watched Ted Lasso. I know who you're talking about. Jamie Tart is he's the jerk, the talented jerk at the beginning who evolves into a team player who maybe doesn't
caterpillar to butterfly.
Yes. Doesn't get all the individual accolades he did at the beginning, but the team is better.
Quit playing to me and play through me. That's my best Manchester accent. Sorry.
That's not bad.
Thank you. I've been working on it. But that bit of like, once you realize that the thing is bigger than your performance, now he got way better, right? Because he went from like the violin player at the front to the conductor in the middle that turned him into a contributor without equal on the pitch. And so that bit happens in kitchens all the time. The trouble is we sometimes promote for the wrong reasons, or we're just missing the chance to let people discover those things about themselves. I mean, quite frankly, if you're not going to do anything else to get better at leadership, Ted Lasso cover to cover is a good choice. Like, it's an incredible show about what humility looks like, what teamwork looks like, what your own journey looks like next to others that are on their own journey. It's a spectacular show.
It truly is.
Yeah. So now, I wish the Bear would lean that. Although I hear that late season, I've really only maybe made it through 2 seasons of the Bear. So I think as it's moved forward, it's got a little more.
Honestly, I only made it through halfway through the most recent season. Okay. It really started to slow down for me. The first couple seasons are incredible.
Yeah.
Whatever the most recent one was kind of lost me. But it is a very good show, and from what I've been told, it's fairly accurate.
Oh, yeah. So I can't watch it at night. Like, it's like I just left work. Like,
yeah.
This is great.
That's what most chefs tell me is like
The intensity's real.
Part of it they enjoy watching because it's like, finally, somebody got restaurant life at least close to right. Yeah. This isn't burnt.
I mean, the other thing that was like, as close is Ratatouille, and that was a cartoon.
Yeah, you've got a rat making Italian dishes. Yeah. But how have you seen... So we're talking about this shift in which we're not having, tyrannical... There are still some kitchens like this.
But and there's moments where everybody ends up that way. I get it. I understand.
But I would say the number of those moments that happen in kitchens has decreased dramatically. Over the past at least 10, 15 years, if not more so than that. What do you think has caused that shift?
That's an excellent question. I don't know. It's kind of above my view. Like, I don't know if I see enough kitchens to understand it. And I mean, I see a lot of kitchens, to be fair. I think that is the kind of contemporary zeitgeist of the world, is that the way to grow is not through that sort of kind of, what was the drummer movie where the guy was really mad?
Oh my gosh.
But like that bit of like,
Whiplash.
Like somebody just on you and on you and on you and on you. We recognize that it is not developing the whole, and the whole is where you get the value. That you could get really good at drumming, at fielding grounders, at making sauce, if somebody's just drilling it over and over. I mean, it's the same convo we had about the searing the scallops. Mm-hmm. Please don't let that connection make you think that I think Glenn is tyrannical. He's not.
Glenn is the opposite. He is an amazing human.
I mean, honestly, to answer your question in a name or two, in Omaha, Glenn Wheeler would be on that list. Like, if you say, how come it's gotten so much better? And I would say a guy like Glenn, who came up in a system that was pretty tyrannical, but didn't keep it going, right? That he is a soft-hearted, empathetic, supportive giant. And every kid that ever goes there on internship comes out a better cook and a better person. Guys like Glenn Wheeler doing that in our community are not making a small impact. They're making an enormous impact. And that list is not small, but Glenn's certainly in the middle of it. And that's real. Like, the generational trauma that gets caused by it can also get stopped by guys as strong as Glenn Wheeler, right? That one chef saying, no, not on my watch, changes that. And then I hope you see, because I certainly see, that the family of people that have now come out of there, that were Glenn's interns, apprentices, sous chefs, chefs de cuisine, that are now out running 25 other places around the city, and now they're carrying that vibe into their worlds. Like, the same way generational trauma occurs, so does that generational empathy, vulnerability, daring, support. Like, now all those guys are out there killing it in a way that's spectacular.
Well, think about...
We should put him in the Hall of Fame. Oh, wait, we already did.
Look at that. Somebody made a smart decision.
No, that was for sure was not me. I mean, I support that decision, but I don't make those decisions.
I mean, look at Omaha's... This just happened again today, so it's very timely, but the finalists that Omaha has had for the James Beard Awards, which David Utterback from Yoshitomo was named a finalist, I think, for the second time today. Tim Nicholson is the other one.
Fabulous.
You go to their restaurants, both have open kitchens, and it is like silent on the line.
Yeah.
It is just perfect communication. There's respect. Now, I know these guys both on a decent level. I don't know them like super personally. I'm sure everybody has moments where they do things that they're not proud of. But for the most part, the way that they conduct those kitchens is what you're talking about. It's respect. It's, hey, we're training here. And I mean, you go back and look at pictures from the Boiler Room roster 3 or 4 years ago, and it's people are out running other kitchens now, or they're, you've got one of them. Yeah, Danny Flores is doing great things at Metro. That's when you have people who establish that new, strong, I don't even know if new is the right word, but just that culture of respect and learning and teaching. People want to go work for them, and then when they leave, whether they're starting their own venture or they're going to another kitchen, they're taking those lessons with them and instilling that around, and it's fantastic to see.
And they've given up nothing on quality.
Yeah.
Like, there's the ticket. It's not like we're giving these props to Utterback or Nicholson or Glenn Wheeler, and it's, but the food there is, so-so.
It's top of the line.
Top of the line.
Oh, my gosh.
Right? Like, it is like the kind of place, all three of those that we're talking about, are the kind of place that I would send any chef friend from anywhere in the world to and not have any fear. Like, I wouldn't even have to call and be like, oh, my God, Tim, this guy's coming. Please do the bet. Like, they're executing at an incredibly high level across the full spectrum of what it means to lead a kitchen, not just to cook food. And that piece of who you get in those three examples, restaurant examples, is excellent. I want to tell another David Utterback story, and I don't know him very well. I mean, I've probably only shook his hand a couple of times. Like, I mean, we're not, cronies or anything like that. Yeah. No, not at all. I don't mean no, not at all. Like, oh, he's a jerk. I just mean no. Like, sure, the industry is small, but it's not like, we all go out on Tuesdays and, talk shop or anything like that. Although that's not really true. Glenn and a bunch of his buddies do go out like every other Wednesday, which would be fun. But again, this high school team from Scottsbluff is in town for a weekend getting ready to go to nationals, and they're kind of at a camp at Metro. So we're working with them. It's a management team, and so they're pitching this idea of opening a sushi restaurant in ProStart USA, some fictional town. But they're all from Scottsbluff, right, where there is no sushi on any menu around. They've been to Denver once or twice and seen it, and blah, blah, blah. Well, so I call over to Yoshi. It's like 2 on a Saturday, I think. And, get a hold of somebody in the kitchen. And I'm like, look, Dave was out of town. I think it was James Beard weekend. Like, they were gone, like, getting ready, going to celebrate. And the person who answers the phone, Mandy Kennick, who's the sous there, she's like, well, yes, like, get him over here and we'll, do what we can. So just open-heartedly, without much kind of thought, they say yes to these 5 high school kids from Scottsbluff roll it in. And now she's like given an ad hoc review of their project, helping them learn how to roll sushi.
So cool.
Ends up getting them dishes off their menu. Like, so looks at the menu they were proposing, pulls together the components to make it so they can then take new, better pictures that they can submit to take to the competition. Right? Because these kids don't know, like, they're still aspirational about it. And so you then see, wait a minute, this is a James Beard level operation that's saying, please, let us share, let us show, let us support. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular to see stuff like that out of an operator that could have said, man, it's Saturday at 2. We're busy. This is how I make a phone still. Should I be going like this?
Isn't it amazing?
I know,
we all do that. It's okay.
We still say roll down the window too, right? Mm-hmm. But so I'm calling them, and they could have very easily, and no one would have been offended if they'd have said, man, it's 2:00 on Saturday. It's too crazy. We can't, I'm sorry. That's okay. I've taken those phone calls frequently myself. So it's that, yes, open-hearted, will support that really changes the game for those 5 kids from Scottsbluff who we may never see in this town again, right? They may not come to school here. They may not do anything that impacts the Omaha scene or Yoshitomo or, right? But maybe they're going to see the value of being cared for by somebody that didn't have to. And now they'll take that to wherever they're going. Maybe the restaurant industry. Maybe they're going to go be a doctor. Maybe they're going to go be whatever else. But somebody said, I'll hold you in this. Mm-hmm. And that is the whole reason to be in the food service biz, is to be able to be there in those kind of moments.
Brian, I knew this was going to happen. I knew that you are just such a fantastic...
We only got through question 2.
I don't care about my questions. You are such a fantastic conversationalist, and you're such a thoughtful person that I knew our time was just going to absolutely fly, and it has.
Wow.
And now we're up against the clock, and I could literally, I could have you here for the next 6 hours. I don't think our producer is down for that. He's not ready to be here till 10.
He kind of looks like he's napping in there already. Oh, no, there's his head. All right.
Justin's good. He's good to go. So, I might need to have you back at some... In fact, I think that's going to have to happen. But I want to get you out of here on this question. When someone comes to Metro, they go through your program, they graduate, and they leave. What do you hope that they take with them?
That's a great question. I mean, we spend a lot of time talking about it and thinking about it and hoping that there's a kit that they've got that, has the things they need. And for sure, that's some very practical things about, knives and how they work and all that kind of stuff. But that craft piece of it is really only a channel of it, right? That there's a repertoire of things they know how to do. Most of what we care is that they have developed themselves as somebody that contributes to the culture of the restaurant and food service industry, that they see their place in it, how they can grow in it, how they can continue to serve it in a meaningful way. And that frequently is about embracing a different mindset, not changing the one you have, because the mindset that makes for an incredible craftsperson sometimes is entirely different than the mindset that makes an incredibly hospitable person and somebody that's great for serving others. But that piece of service is critical as well. So craft, understand the culture of our field and the many different things that come at it. But then also seeing your role in service, right? And understanding what other people need and then using your skill set to provide it for them. Also super important. But the last two, and they might seem a little off because we haven't talked specifically about them that much today, but one is about seeing your role in kind of the sustainability of our field, right? That we work very hard in our program. I mean, our degree is even called Sustainable Culinary Management or Sustainable Baking Management, to make sure that the kind of resource stewardship you have as the leader of a kitchen is also taken seriously. And so I hope that continues to happen. We have some incredibly dedicated and incredibly brilliant faculty that carry that the best. But then the last is business acumen, that we don't want anybody to walk out not realizing that limes cost 19 cents. And if you squeeze half of one and throw the other half in the trash, sure, that's bad environmental stewardship, but also that's 18 cents in the trash. 9 cents in the trash if you threw away half. But if that was a dime, I'd pick it out of the trash. And I want to make sure that lesson is not lost either, because the restaurant business, on the business side of that conversation,
margins,
right? You can't afford
that half a lime makes a lot of difference when you add up all the half limes you've thrown away.
It does. I mean, the best operators in the world are making 6 or 7% on their money in the restaurant biz, and so you can't afford to do that piece wrong. And so that shoots through all of it. But school has also got a bad rap over the years of not being the place where you get really good at managing those nickels and dimes. And we want to make sure that we're not living up to that piece of the school's reputation. So not the school like Metro, but culinary schools in general have been a playground of lobster tails and foie gras or something. I've never seen that, but I know it's a rep that gets bannered about. So those are the 5. Great at the craft, connected and committed to the culture, has a service mindset, right? That it's about other people's needs, understands their role in the sustainability, as well as this heightened business acumen. They're not leaving owner ready, but they're leaving understanding the cost and value of a lime.
What you just said brings me back to something that you said like half an hour ago, and it popped into my head, and it ties back to the very first question I asked you. In that I listen to Dave Chang's, famous celebrity chef, his podcast fairly frequently, and he went to culinary school and does not speak highly of it.
Sure.
Thinks he would have been better if he just went into the field. But there's a distinction that I hear when he talks about it. He always calls it cooking school.
Uh-huh.
And I think that there's a difference between cooking school and culinary school.
Sure.
A cooking school can prepare you and teach you how to cook. A culinary school just teaches you those 5 things that you just laid out that go so far beyond whether you can make an amazing bouillabaisse or you know how to reverse sear a protein or anything like that. And I think that's part of what makes Metro so special. Brian, just thank you so much for...
Absolutely.
I learned so much every time I talk to you, whether it's 3 minutes or whether it's an hour like we just had here. And I'm so grateful for your knowledge. It's easy to see why people learn so much when they come to your school. So people... If you want to learn about cooking, whether you want to be a student or you just want to take a class, there are classes at Metro that I could take right now that I
Absolutely.
could learn a lot from. Check those out. Go to Sage Student Bistro, get a great meal, help those kids learn in a real environment. Brian, thank you for taking the time to come on the show today. This has been so much fun.
Thanks for having me. And you're right, saying every person listening is an essential part of the educational journey for students at MCC, right? That you come in as a guest and be in there, even a guest at a restaurant where our students go work on internships and whatnot. Like, we are in this together because service and the guest is at the heart of our model. So thanks for having me as one today.
Of course. It was my pleasure. Omaha, as always, thanks for eating with us.